Hello my gorgeous friends of Webflow, it's your friendly neighborhood Francesco from Supasaido here. Today we're building a hover interaction that looks clean, elegant and just a little bit sneaky. When you hover over a card, its border gets darker, the image inside scales up while staying perfectly clipped, and at the same time all the other cards lose saturation and fade toward black and white. At first glance, this might feel like the kind of interaction that should require Webflow interactions or at least a bunch of extra setup. But the fun part is it really doesn't. Because in this tutorial we're not using Webflow interactions at all. Instead, we were building the whole thing using a combination of the style panel, the state selector, a few Webflow variables and just a tiny bit of CSS. So yes, this video is absolutely about building a cool interaction, but it's also the beginning of a slightly different kind of journey, learning how a few simple lines of CSS can make your Webflow projects feel way more powerful, flexible and intentional. If you find my videos helpful and want to support my work, you'll see the thanks button right below the video. No pressure at all, even just watching, liking and subscribing already means a lot. But now, if you're ready, let's dive in. The starting point for this video is a simple grid of cards, pulled from a blog post's CMS collection. First, as usual, let's take a very quick look at the structure. Inside our usual section, main container, section content wrapper setup, we added a collection list, connected to the blog post's CMS collection we mentioned a moment ago. The collection list wrapper has the class blog-post_list-wrapper, but we haven't applied any styles to it. The collection list instead has the class blog-post_list. Here we set the display property to grid with 3 columns and a 1 rem gap. The collection item has the class blog-post_list-item, but just like the collection list wrapper, we didn't apply any styling to it. Inside the collection item, we have a link block with the class blog-post_card-link. Let's keep the layout properties for a second. Its height is set to 100%, so it can expand and take all the available vertical space inside the collection item. The overflow is set to hidden. This is important because we applied a 1 rem border radius and we want that border radius to properly clip the image inside the card. We can clearly see the effect of this by quickly resetting the overflow back to the default visible value. If we move down to the typography settings, we can see something we've done many times in other tutorials. The color property is set to inherit. This allows the link block to inherit the color from the body element, instead of getting the default blue link color. We can quickly reset that value as well to see the difference. And if you want to set the font color to inherit, you just click on the purple dot, choose Custom and type Inherit. The text decoration is set to none, so we can remove the default underline usually applied to text inside the link. We already mentioned the 1 rem border radius. Then we have a 1 pixel grayish border. And finally, we have a couple of transitions. The first one is applied to the border color. The second one is applied to the filter property. We'll use that second transition later to smoothly animate the saturation change when we build the hover interaction. Both transitions use the same settings: 800 millisecond duration and ease out expo easing. Now let's go back to the layout properties, because there's an important reason why we set the card link to display flex with the direction set to vertical. Inside the card we have 2 div blocks. The first one contains the thumbnail. The second one wraps the text content. The thumbnail wrapper has a fixed height, which is determined by the 16:9 aspect ratio of the image inside it, as we'll see in a moment. Because of that, we want the text wrapper to expand and take all the remaining vertical space inside the card. Setting the card link to flex makes that possible. It allows us to set the sizing of the text wrapper, which is a flex child, to grow if possible. And that gives us exactly the behavior we want. The text wrapper has the class blog-post_card-text-wrapper. We also use this class to turn the text wrapper itself into a flexbox. Its direction is set to vertical. The gap is 1 rem. And the alignment on the y-axis is set to space between. This way, the two elements inside it, a simple h3 heading and a paragraph, are pushed toward the top and bottom of the container respectively. Of course, all of that happens inside the padding we applied on all sides of the text wrapper. The image wrapper has the class blog-post_card-thumbnail-wrapper. Here we set overflow to hidden as well. And the reason is the same one we mentioned earlier. When we scale the image up on hover, we want it to stay clipped inside its wrapper, so the effect feels clean and controlled. The image itself has the class blog-post_thumbnail. Its width is set to 100%, so it always fills the available width inside the parent container. Then, as anticipated, we set the aspect ratio to 16:9, and we also set the fit property to cover, to preserve the original proportions of the image and avoid distortion. Finally, since we want to scale the image up on hover, we added a transition to the transform property. For consistency, we were using the exact same settings we used for the card link. So, 800 millisecond duration and ease out expo easing. Now that we have a clear understanding of the structure, we can move to the core of the lesson, the hover interaction itself. And you'll see very quickly that building an interaction like this is actually fast and straightforward, once you know exactly what to do. Let's jump into it. Just to make things a bit cleaner, for convenience, we can store all the variables we want to use in this hover interaction inside a dedicated variables group. In my case, I called it card on hover. This is actually a simplified version of the variable system I would normally use when styling an element like this, because realistically, a card like this could eventually become a reusable component. But for the sake of this tutorial, I don't want to overcomplicate things, so we'll keep the setup focused on what really matters. That said, I promise that one day I'll make a full video, or maybe even a full course, about the approach I personally use when building websites. Inside this variables group, we stored 3 values. The saturation value we want all the other cards to have while hovering one card, the scale factor for the image inside the hovered card, and the border color for the card on hover. And by the way, as usual, the full setup, including the variables, the structure and the CSS, is all included inside the clonable project, which you'll find linked in the video description. Let's start with the easiest part of the interaction, the border. Once we close the variables panel, we can simply select the card link and switch to its hover state from the style selector. At this point, all we need to do is change the border color to the one stored in our variables group. And that's it. Without leaving the designer, we can already do a quick test and see the border color changing on hover, using exactly the transition timing we defined earlier. Nice and easy. Now let's move to what looks like the more complicated part, scaling up the image and, even more importantly, dropping the saturation of all the cards we're not hovering. Let's start with the image. Here's the key thing to understand. Once we switch the card link into its hover state inside the style panel, we can only change the styles of the selected element itself. In other words, the hover state inside Webflow style panel does not let us directly target child elements. So, if we want to scale the image when the card link is hovered, we need a different approach. And that's where a tiny bit of custom CSS comes in. Before looking at the code though, let's check one important detail. If we select one of the card links and open the element settings panel, we can see that we assigned it a custom attribute called card-link-hover. Why did we do that? Because this lets us detach the interaction logic from the class name of the element, And that's a really useful habit. If, in the future, you have two different elements with the exact same internal structure but different class names, you can still apply the exact same interaction to both. All you need to do is give both of them the same attribute, and you're done. So, instead of tying the interaction to a class name, we're tying it to a reusable behavior. That's much more flexible. Now let's actually add the CSS. To do that, we drop an embed element into the page and give it the class global-styles. Then we move it above all the other elements on the page. This is generally a good idea, because it allows the browser to read and apply that CSS as early as possible while the page is loading. In other words, our custom styles become available sooner, which helps keep things a bit cleaner and more predictable. Now let's open the embed element and, inside a style tag, add these lines of CSS. And honestly, this is much simpler than it may look. Here's what it means. Card-link-hover between squared parentheses targets any element that has the card-link-hover attribute. Hover means only while that element is being hovered. Blank space img means select the image inside that hovered element. And inside the curly braces, we're saying scale that image using the value stored in our CSS variable. So, in plain English, when we hover an element that has the card-link-hover attribute, scale the image inside it. That's literally it. Very simple, very powerful. Now, you may be wondering something. How do we get this CSS variable name? From the variable we created inside Webflow? Because inside the variables group, the name we gave it is much simpler. And the answer is, you don't need to manually translate anything. Webflow does that for you. All you need to do is open the variables panel, click the three dots next to the variable and choose Copy CSS. Then you open the embed element and paste that value directly inside the scale function. And that's it. Super easy. At this point, we can click Save and Close and test the result directly inside the designer. And when we hover a card, the image inside scales up exactly as expected. It uses the scale factor we defined, and it respects the transition settings we already applied earlier, so the duration and easing stay perfectly consistent. Now we can move to the last piece of the puzzle. And honestly, this is probably the most satisfying one. How many lines of CSS do you think we need to make every card, except the one we're currently hovering, drop its saturation to the value stored in our variables group? Well, exactly the same as before. Just 3 simple lines of CSS. And yes, the selector may look a little scary at first, but once we break it down, it becomes surprisingly easy to understand. Here's the code. This is also a really nice little introduction to has, which is one of those modern CSS selectors that can make your logic feel much more expressive. Let's break it down step by step. This first part means only activate this rule when the page, the body element, contains, has, a card with the card link over attribute that is currently being hovered, and that's why we write :hover. In simpler words, only run this CSS when one of our cards is actually being hovered. Then we have the card link hover attribute selector, which targets all the elements that have that attribute, and finally :not and between parentheses :hover, which means exclude not the one that is currently being hovered. And that's why between parentheses we write :hover. So when we combine everything, the logic becomes when one card is being hovered, target all the other cards that share the same attribute. And then inside the curly braces we apply filter saturate. That simply lowers the saturation of those cards using the variable value we defined earlier. So, in plain English, this whole rule says if one card is hovered, make all the other cards less saturated. That's the whole trick. And this is a really nice example of how powerful modern CSS can be. Because instead of building a more complex interaction system, we can describe the relationship directly. If this exists and it's being hovered, then style all the others. Very clean, very expressive, and honestly, very satisfying. And that's it. Once again, we click Save and Close, and without ever leaving the designer, we can immediately test the result. The interaction now works smoothly, cleanly, and exactly the way we want it. The hovered card gets a darker border, its image scales up, and all the other cards lose saturation, all with a very small amount of CSS. And again, if you want to inspect the full setup, copy it, or reverse engineer it at your own pace, the complete project is available in the clonable linked in the description, exactly as usual. I really hope this video helps you not only improve your interaction skills, but also start getting a better sense of how powerful even just a few lines of CSS can be. And if this video made you fall just a little bit in love with CSS, well, you'll probably be happy to hear that many more tutorials like this are coming very soon. But now, as always, let's jump into the music recommendation. And that's it for today. We built a clean and surprisingly powerful card hover interaction, using nothing more than the style panel, hover states, a small set of Webflow variables, and just a few lines of custom CSS. Today's music recommendation is Le Parole Lontane by Måneskin, because today's interaction is all about making the hover card stand out by letting all the others become just a little more distant. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more Webflow tips and tricks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Matane!